Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.
Hello, friends. It's Denise Duffield-Thomas here, and welcome to this week's episode of Chill and Prosper. A big shout out to everyone listening in their cars, listening in their cubicles at work. Hi. So today's episode, I've got a couple of questions that have come in, which I really love. Keep sending me your juicy questions, please. You can email us info@denisedt.com, or if you have an idea for an upcoming episode. Okay, the first question comes from Kristen, who is a travel blogger. And she's saying, I'm curious, do you still make a budget where certain things are a priority and some aren't? If so, what do you prioritize and what do you not? Okay, so remember, I am not a financial advisor, right? So I can't give you advice from, I don't know, from a finance point of view, but I can always see what the mindset is around this. Okay, so I think it's really interesting about budgets. Some people love them and some people don't. And I actually, I'm not a huge budgeter anymore. There was probably points in my life where I didn't have a lot of money and I had to be a lot more mindful about what I spent. But even then, I was very optimistic. I'd just be like, oh, well, that's tomorrow's problem, right? And so even now, I'm not a massive budgeter. However, what I do love tracking expenses. I wouldn't say I do this every single day, but at least like once a month or so. And I love using apps for this. The one I use at the moment is called Frollo, which I don't know if it's just in Australia. So other people have loved, like, You Need a Budget, and there's lots of different budgeting kind of apps, and most of them are free. And you can sync them to your bank account, and then usually you just categorize it. And I always feel like it's a little bit of a game. It feels like you go, oh, that one goes there, that one goes there, that one goes there. And so I actually do this after the fact. And where it helps me is to see, one, like, what's the general flow of money? Like, what are we generally spending on these things? Because we're kind of creatures of habit, right? But also it starts to see where some of the money leaks are. And I feel like for me, I'd rather do it from a money leaks perspective rather than restrict myself of saying you can only spend money on this. And so what happens whenever I look at that, I go, oh, we're doubling up on this particular thing. Or I was looking at, like, we've got all these different cable subscriptions, right? You know, for Max or Foxtel or whatever. And I was like, oh, well, we can just do a bundle. You know, little things like that will pop up and I'll go, oh, you know, or you see things where it's like, one time my credit card got hacked, you know, and so it was like, oh, and it didn't get picked up actually by my accountant because it was Uber on there. And I was on a business trip, and so it took me a little while to actually pick it up. But all my Uber stuff goes through PayPal, so I'd actually been hacked. And they just put Uber on there because probably people don't pick it up, right? So it's more for me, I'll look at and go, there's all these little leaks that are coming up. And then it totally depends with budgeting, what's your goal, right? If you're working towards something, it's more motivating to set yourself on a budget because then you feel like it's for something. You can make it a game, you can make it exciting. So there are other apps too where you can set savings goals. Actually, my bank does it on the app as well. You can set savings goals, you can set up a little side bank account, and you can get excited about seeing that. Sometimes people are on a budget because they want to pay off debt. And you can make that a game as well and make that exciting and make that feel really good. I also like to look at what's the underlying behavior sometimes to my overspending, because I know for me, this is part of my archetypes too. I'm a ruler, maverick, romantic in Money Archetypes. And some archetypes, like, everyone's got their own behavior around spending, right? But some of the archetypes, it's very much like an instant gratification thing of wanting to feel better. So for celebrities, they might be spending money to impress other people, you know, and for that, you can stop and go, who am I trying to impress here? Is this something that's going to make me feel good, or is this something that's going to make me feel bad after the fact? Romantics as well. It's like a little, you know, instant gratification thing. Oh, I worked so hard, I deserve a little treat. You know, mavericks don't like to be put in restriction. So budgets don't always work for Mavericks, right? So you might be curious about what your archetype is. So you can go to denisedt.com/quiz. There's a quiz. You can find out what your archetype is. And I think it's fascinating in that way, right? Accumulators love to kind of restrict themselves and put themselves on a budget. Alchemists, it's all about going with the flow. Celebrities are, as I said, they want to spend money to look and feel good and to impress other people. Connectors, usually spend their money in ways to connect with other people. So it could be, if you're more of an extroverted connector, you might be going to a lot of conferences and spending on that way. You also might be helping other people with your money. Okay, so there's no right or wrong. It's just that if it's getting you out of budget, it's always good to look at the motivations for why. Mavericks don't like to think about it, don't like to be restricted. So sometimes you'll see Mavericks with, it'll be feast or famine, so they don't want to stick to a budget. Nurturers, I find a lot of nurturers are in debt for other people because they're spending their money for others and not taking care of their own needs, right? And that's including debt too. Sometimes nurturers at the extreme end will put their savings or their retirement in jeopardy to bail out other people. Okay, so that's something to look at as well. Then romantics, as I said, it's definitely about instant gratification and feeling good. And then for rulers, I find that a lot of rulers spend money in their business more than in their personal life. So even for me, I'm a ruler number one. I'm not getting my hair done for myself. I don't care that much, especially when I'm during the week, I'm doing ballet all the time. My hair's in a bun, but I need it for my business. So I'll justify spending money on things because it's ultimately for my business. I can't tax deduct that, but so I don't go get my nails done unless I'm doing something for my business. Okay, so that for me, it is a priority. Okay, so what do you prioritize and what do you not? It totally depends on what you need, right? What is this phase of life for you? Now, there's been times like with having kids and I wanted to build my empire, I actually needed to spend a lot of money at home, as in getting home help for laundry, meals, all that kind of stuff, more than the business, because I felt like, well, I like doing all the stuff in the business, but I don't like doing that stuff at home. So that was a big priority for me at that time. In this phase of life, when the kids are at school, I'm not really empire building as much. I'm actually spending most of my money on dance, health, going to the physio, making sure that my health, my body is as strong as it can be, getting personal training or going to physio or going to ballet classes all the time. That for me is my priority in this phase of life. So I think it's always good to sit and go, okay, what is my priority right now? Is it business? Is it health? Is it family? Is it travel and adventure? Is it personal development? Is it healing? Because sometimes you need to spend money on therapy and inner child work and safety. Sometimes you're in a foundation part of your life, right? So in your business, that could look like setting up really good structures behind the scenes, spending money with people who can help you create operating procedures on your branding, on stuff that's going to last a long time. Or it could be like a time for auditing, a time for really, getting those boring things done. It could be a time where you want to expand and go into visibility. So then you would spend money on PR, press, branding, photos, all of that kind of stuff. So there's no right or wrong in this. It's always about what's your priority and what's important to you at the moment. And if you do sit down and think about those things, that gives you discernment, and so then you don't go, oh, I'm going to go join that really expensive mastermind because of the great sales pitch. You'll really sit and go, okay, do I need that at the moment? Is that something that would work for me in this phase of life? Is that in budget? Because otherwise it's kind of arbitrary, isn't it? And restriction for the sake of restriction isn't good either. And I have definitely made this mistake of not having that discernment. And I've joined programs that weren't for me. I've spent money in places in my business that weren't necessary. And sometimes it's come from procrastination or just not knowing what my goal was. So a couple of years ago, I updated my branding, as you can see behind me, and I love it. And every now and again, when I'm procrastinating stuff, I go, oh, I should refresh my branding. I go, no, not a priority for me right now. That it's not. It's good enough, and there's been times I've spent more money on new photos or new videos, and then other times not a priority, so yeah, sit down, think, what stage of business am I in? What stage of life am I in? What do I need to move forward right now? But also, here's the key, what is actually going to make me money? What is going to actually make me money in my business? Because there's times where some things are an absolute nice to have, and there will be things that actually will move the needle and get you the sales that come in. And similarly, in your personal life, there'll be times where you go, I really need support in this area, or I really need to upgrade a particular thing in my life right now. And that is a priority, and that's okay too. When it comes to upgrades, there's two different schools of thought on this. And actually, I'll talk about this after the break, actually, because it's a bit of a longer conversation. I'm in my tangents. Okay, I'll see you in a sec.
It's your time and you're ready for the next step. It's your time and you're ready for the next step. It's your time and you're totally ready for the next step. So many times we are waiting for the perfect moment, for all of the green lights, or for someone else to tap us on the shoulder and say, you're ready. But it has to come from inside you, and you can declare yourself ready now. Put your hand on your heart and try it with me. It's my time and I'm ready for the next step. If you know deep in your heart, even if you're scared, that you're ready to let go of some of your money fears and finally profit from your skills and talents, it's time to get to work. Your next step is to come and join us in Money Bootcamp. You can work with me as your money mindset mentor and join our beautiful community so you can really give yourself permission to make money and change the world. Click below to find out more, but don't wait any longer. Come and join us today. We're ready for you, and it's your time and you're ready for the next step.
Okay, so the question before the break was, do you still make a budget when certain things are a priority and some aren't? What do you prioritize? What do you not? So it's kind of gone into a bigger conversation, Kristen, of upgrades and how you spend your money and what you value. All right. So those of you who are in Money Bootcamp, we have this conversation about upgrades and upgrading your life, and this concept of creating a first-class life for you. Okay. And so we do a big checklist, and you have to kind of organize your life into stuff that is economy, premium economy, business, first class. And I love looking at this in a really granular way, because sometimes you realize that you're putting up with a lot of things that are economy class, and you're looking for the things that are symbolic, right? Not just like, who cares sometimes about some things, but some things are causing you inconvenience. They're making you feel poor. They're making you feel scarce. They're taking up time, energy, etc. And a classic example of this is like my first couple of years of business, where I had a really, really cheap laptop. And it was like a $250 Acer laptop, super, super basic. But it was getting to the point where not upgrading it was costing me money, because I would write something, I'd hit enter, and I would be like, it would think about it, and I'd just be like, oh, geez, I couldn't do anything with it. And so upgrading my laptop, I remember at the time too, buying an iPad, like first generation iPad, and it felt so crazy. But then I was like, now I can film with it. I filmed my first version of Money Bootcamp, which has had 10,000 people go through that program. I filmed it with a first generation iPad, sat up on an ironing board. And if you're trying to do your business and you don't have the tools, it can be really, really hard, right? And so that's a classic example of an economy class thing that is costing you money. And sometimes, yes, you don't have the money necessarily, but I've also seen it where people have gone, yeah, but my kids have got the best of everything. So there is money. It's just that you feel bad and guilty about spending it. Or you say, I'll wait till my business makes money first before I give myself those things. And I get that for some things. You don't need to necessarily upgrade everything at the start of your business. You need to just like hustle and put that sweat equity in. But are you trying to do it with no tools? Because that is sabotage, right? That is absolutely sabotaging yourself if you're not saying, like, if you're not like letting yourself win. Okay, so I mean, having a decent phone, I think, is one of the best tools you can have in your business, because you can film with it, you can do podcasts with it, you know, you can listen to stuff, you can create content with your phone, and you can create a whole business with your phone. You know, I actually don't do a lot of desk time anymore in my business. I really don't. Most of my business is done on my phone. So I do customer service on my phone, I create content, you know, I'm doing those things. And you need something like that, right? So, and same, Kristen, who sent the original question in, you know, she's a travel blogger, right? So what would be a priority for you as a travel blogger? You'd probably need a good phone, a good laptop, you'd need a good tripod, you know, something like that. And then you can upgrade as you make money. But you do need those basic tools sometimes to be able to do it. Now, another little story around this of like, what do you prioritize and what you don't? When I was buying my first house, and actually I've bought a lot of houses, so I've used this again and again, is that we created like a weighted spreadsheet, because I know I don't always have good discernment, and I get very excited about things and I forget about what my like criteria is. Okay. And so we put this spreadsheet, we were like, okay, what's important to us in a house? And there was nice to haves, and like, sorry, there was deal breakers and preferences. So a deal breaker would be, okay, we need X amount of rooms, it needs this kind of thing. And then there would be preferences of like, wouldn't it be amazing if it had a frangipani tree out the front? Like, whatever, you know, wouldn't it be great if it had a backyard? Wouldn't it be good if there was space to do a granny flat in the future for my mom to live? And we put down like 50 different things. And some of them were more important than others. So we did like a little bit of a ranking system. And also it helped us to then like spit out a number at the end that helped, like, is this a good buy for us, or is this not a good buy for us? Even things like one of the line items was, does this have good internet or reception? And so we had to look at our phone and go, you know, can I get 5G in this area? And you think, wow, but like that would be really annoying to not have that. And so I love using things like spreadsheets or a checklist to be able to discern if something is for you, especially when it comes to a big emotional purchase, you know, like a house, but also in your business. If you are at a conference or an event and there's a big like sales pitch, for you to be able to go like, okay, does this fit my criteria? Is this something that's going to pull me forward? Is this something that has got like peer level people in it? Are there people who are going where I want to go? Do the times of the calls work out for me? Because I joined a program because I was really excited in the moment, and then the calls were at 4:30 in the morning. And I was like, this does not work for me. There were a lot of in-person events that did not work for me. A lot of the people were in really different industries that didn't really work for me, but I didn't have that discernment to sit and do it. So whatever it is, I think it's just such a great way to check in with yourself. And there's a couple of ways that we do this, Mark and I, to make sure that our business, our life is in alignment to where we want to go. Because otherwise you get on autopilot, right? And you start to forget why you're doing it and what your values are. So we, I don't know if we would do this if we didn't work together as much. We still would, but not necessarily as structured. We hire someone, I would say at a minimum twice a year, but if we're in a really busy, you know, building stuff quarterly, we have done this quarterly, where we will sit down and we work with a lady called AJ from UQ Power, her business is. And I've recommended to lots of couples too, because she's good at refereeing, Mark and I. And we sit down and we literally do the basics sometimes of what are our values? Let's remind ourselves what our values are for our family, our priorities, the stage of life we're in, for the business, what's our income goal. And we also write down all the projects that we want to do for the next quarter, right? And then AJ is basically like, okay, let's take out most of these because you're being really unrealistic. So having someone outside of ourselves to say, you know, like, what are you budgeting your time and energy on? Because it's not just about money. And that really helps us to go, you know what, that is not worth our time right now. That is not a priority for us for this next quarter or for this year. So we're going to park that. And there have been projects where I've had to go, this is not a year to write a book. This is not a year. We've been able to go, you know, this is our year for decluttering. This is our year for looking at all of our projects that aren't profitable and letting them go. This is really about what's important to us as a family. And in those quarterly meetings, we've made some really big decisions. So I know your question was, you know, budgeting, but it's like, your budget is more than just money. It is time, energy, priorities, values, all of those things. And so in one of those meetings, that's when we decided to sell our farm, because we bought it a couple of years ago. We wanted it as a place for our family to go. And it turned into something different. It turned into more of a business that we did not have time to do. And so we had to just be like, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in our priorities. It doesn't fit in our energy. It doesn't fit into any of those things anymore. Yes, it fit into family, but we were building a house that had some of those elements in there that we wanted. And also, it's a really interesting thing. This actually led to a lot of changes in the business as well, because I was like, well, we're working a lot. So we felt like we needed this place to go because we're working so much. Why don't we just work less? And then we won't feel like we need that as much anymore. So that was a really interesting exercise for us to do as well. But if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. That's from Alice in Wonderland. And that's what the Cheshire Cat says to Alice, right? Where are you going? She goes, I don't know. Well, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And when we have a North Star for us as a family, for me as a human, like as a person, it really helps me to go, this is me, this is not for me. And because I have such a big focus this year on pleasure and doing what I want to do, then that means that when speaking gig inquiries come in and they're overseas, it's a no. It makes it really easy to know how to budget my time and my energy. And the cascade effect from that of going, okay, so if that's really important for me to have a lot of time for dancing and having a work-life balance, then all of my podcast interviews that I do, I'm going to do them only on one day. And they're going to be from like 7 to 12. And then I go to the movies with my friend. And so then when people go, oh, well, can I do it on a Friday? I go, I'm just not available for that right now. You know, it makes it really easy to know where to put your time and energy. So that was a really long-winded kind of answer to your question, Kristen, but I felt like it was an important tangent to go into. You know, your original question was, I'm curious, do you still make a budget where certain things are a priority and some aren't? If so, what do you prioritize and what do you do? What do you not prioritize? And yeah, my answer to that is always know where you're going, right? And then it helps you to do that. And you can do it by yourself. You can do it, you know, with somebody else. And to know, okay, what era of life are we in? Are we in adventure and travel, which sounds like you are? Are we in debt reduction? Are we saving for something? And then that will help you make those decisions really well. Okay, cool. That was a really fun one. I've got a final thought for you after this last break. Don't go away. I'll see you in a sec. Bye.
My upbringing was, I'm from Birmingham in the UK, and so I was brought up in the poorest area in Birmingham, and my parents we didn't have a car, we didn't have lots of things. And I felt after my marriage breakdown that it was all down to me and something had to change. So I had to invest in myself, and not only your course, but other personal development courses have meant that I'm living the life of my dreams right now. So the money thing was very important.
What's one lesson that you'll always work on and remember?
There's many. There's the up-leveling, like always, I'm always up-leveling in some version. It doesn't happen over a long period of time now. It happens over much shorter periods, doesn't hurt as much. And it's my time. I'm ready for the next step. So, yeah, I walk and talk your stuff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think the last thought here is really about having that North Star. And North Star for me is something that I'm always working to, and it does change for me year on. And a couple of years ago, I was at an event and people saying, "Oh, thank you so much for coming. It's so great you're here." And I was going, "My pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure." And I went, "Oh, My pleasure. Interesting. Why do I do for pleasure? Do I do speaking gigs for pleasure? No, I don't. And so it really made me go, okay, where in my life do I have real true pleasure? And that's pretty much what's changed for me this year. Last year, though, my North Star was, maybe 2 years ago now, it was all my projects are profitable. And it was just a little mantra for me. All my projects are profitable. And where it showed up is all the places that I was expending time, energy, money on unprofitable things. And so that really helped. And then that helped me prioritize. So I think it is such a high level thing, right? What is either your mantra for the year or your word of the year? And if you can every quarter, every month, check in with that and make sure that you're not on autopilot. Sometimes you just need to tweak a couple little things just to get you back in the right direction. So you're not just mindlessly going, and just going with the flow. And then sometimes it shows up, I don't know, boundaries you need to set, difficult conversations that you need to have. But it's totally okay for you to design your life for what you prioritize, not what other people prioritize. Okay, so your mantra could be, it's safe for me to build my life the way I want it. It's safe for me to do things my way. It's safe for me to, prioritize things that other people don't, So it could be a whole rabbit hole that you go down around values and priorities. But it's safe for you to create your life that's entirely for you and what you need in this era of your life. Okay. All right. Thank you for that question. And I hope it helped everybody else as well. I can't wait to hear your feedback on that. You can always DM me or, write about this. And if there's someone you want to share this episode with, please do so. That would be great. And I'll see you next week on another episode of Chill and Prosper. Bye.
Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.